Hello everyone. I know it's been a long time, but I am back. And I have my new favorite sewing machine that I cannot wait to share with you. I want to introduce you to the EverSewn Sparrow 30. But before I go on, I want to first say that this video is not sponsored. Now, for those of you who might have stumbled upon this video just wanting to know if you should invest in this machine or not, then my answer is yes. Don't hesitate. Go out, buy it now. Go out and buy it now. Go online, get it. If you have a store near you that's open right now, you go out and you get this machine. EverSewn's motto is love at first stitch, and I myself find that to be true. I believe this will be a sewing machine you will love and use for quite a long time. However, for my quilting family out there, this definitely will get the job done, but there are some workflow differences about this machine that you might find work differently from what you're used to. Well, at least I did anyway. At the end of the video, I will go over some tips and tricks you can use to overcome those differences, as well as an additional tip when using this sewing machine. For full disclosure, I do have to say, there is one thing about this machine that I do not like, or I should say, that I must be aware of every time I use it. When the presser foot is in its high position, whether you use the start-stop button or the foot control, the machine will sew, even though the presser foot is up. I did reach out to EverSewn, and they verified that this is the way the machine works. I think it is important that you are aware of this, especially if you have children or you plan to use this machine to teach children how to sew. Other than that, I think it is a great machine, even for a beginner, and one that he or she can grow into because of its feature set. And speaking of features, at a price point of $399 US, it comes with an automatic thread cutter and an extension table. Besides the machine, in the box, you will also find your foot control, a pattern chart, a very useful manual, a soft cover, 7 presser feet, 6 that comes in this bag, the all-purpose foot that comes attached with the machine, and other bits and bobs. Alternatively, you can purchase the bundle for a few extra dollars at $409 US. In addition to what I've mentioned, in the bundle, you will get a set of 10 extra bobbins and the quilting kit, which both can be purchased separately, especially if you're not into quilting. If the color isn't to your liking, EverSewn is actually working on other color variations of this machine to be released sometime this year. If you have an Instagram account, you should definitely follow them. For your convenience, I will link their account in the description area below this video. Also, I will include links to both options, the bundle as well as the non-bundle. Okay, so now for my quilters. I'm going to give you 2 tips in overcoming some workflow differences I found that may or may not get in the way of your fluid workflow, as well as an additional tip. One of the great features of the EverSewn Sparrow 30 is the auto lock feature. However, this could prove a problem for quilters. Auto locking is only auto engaged in one instance that I've found, and that is after you turn on the machine. The machine will sew in place 3 or 4 times at the beginning to lock your stitches. This is important to know because when working with quilt blocks, sometimes you need to rip out those seams because of some mistake made. Those auto locking stitches, well, they're going to be a little difficult to undo without ripping into your fabric. But nevertheless, there are two ways around this. One is that you have to remember that after you turn on the machine, you need to disengage auto lock. On the LCD screen, you will see a doubled circle icon. This lets you know that auto locking is engaged. To disengage it, press the auto lock button, which is conveniently located between the reverse and the needle up and down buttons. Once you press it, you will then see that the icon has disappeared. Now, the second way is to use what's called a thread saver. I use two small pieces of fabric, one at the beginning of my stitch and one at the end. So let me show you how I use them. So I will turn off the machine and then turn it back on. And as you can see, auto lock is engaged. So put down my presser foot. Here's my second piece thread saver, and here is a block. It's a sample block that I'm going to sew on. So when I press the start stop button, you will see that the needle will go into the fabric 3 or 4 times before it starts feeding it through. Right? Now I can start feeding in my block. And when it comes to the end, I put in my second thread saver and then stop. So then what I would do is cut my block from the ending thread saver and then cut the first thread saver and put it off to the side until I need it. So next is the needle up and down position. On some machines, the needle is programmed to end down or up and can't be changed. On others, you can program it to always end down or always end up. On this one, it is programmed to whatever was lastly used, and there is no way to program it to always end down after a stitch. This is where the thread saver comes in handy once again. By using the thread saver, I don't have to use the automatic thread cutter, and I don't have to try to remember to put the needle down every time. This issue is more of a personal one due to the way I work. So if you're used to pressing the needle up down button, then this one may not be a workflow issue for you. So what I mean is if you paid attention to what I did previously about showing you how I use a thread saver, you probably noticed that my needle ended in the up position because that's where it ended up before I started that stitch. So if you look at the LCD screen, you'll see the needle and an arrow pointing down, which means that your beginning stitch starts with the needle down. Your ending stitch will start with the needle down. Will end with the needle down. Now, if I press the up down, you'll see that the arrow is now up. So the needle will start up and the needle will end up. So the way I combat that is I always leave my needle down so that when I start my stitch, and end my stitch, and using my thread savers, my needle always begin and ends in the down position, and I don't have to worry about using the thread cutter or pressing the needle up and down arrow. Now, there are times in which I do use the automatic thread cutter because it is a useful feature, but when doing patchwork, it is not the time when I would usually use the automatic thread cutter. I would always use my thread saver and make sure that my needle is always in the down position. So my last tip is achieving a 1/4 inch seam. If you decide to purchase this machine, not get the bundle, and you don't have a 1/4 inch quilting foot, then there is an alternative solution. So make sure that you are using the multi-purpose foot. When using any of the first 4 stitches, the width adjustment buttons become the needle position buttons. Press the minus button to move the needle to the left, or the plus button to move the needle to the right. If you are the type of quilter that uses a scant 1/4 inch, then move the needle all the way to the right until you get to 7.0 millimeters. But if you're the type of quilter that uses a true 1/4 inch, then press the minus button to go back 1 to 6.5 millimeters. Well, that's it for this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you are new to my channel, then please subscribe to receive notifications of when new videos are posted. And until next time, happy sewing.